This is Toledo Symphony Lab, a behind-the-scenes look at the world of classical music from WGTE Public Media and your Toledo Symphony. I'm Brad Cresswell, and joining me today are the Toledo Symphony's music director, Alain Trudel. We also have the president and CEO of the Toledo Symphony, Zach Vassar, here. And we have two very special first-time guests, and I've got a little fanfare to bring you guys in. Please welcome our special guest, Scott Potter, who is a trumpeter and the president of the TJO, the Toledo Jazz Orchestra. Also, Scott Lavender, who is the conductor of the concert we're going to be talking about. Welcome to both of you, gentlemen.
Thank you
very much.
We're glad to be here.
So the concert that we're going to talk about today is with Toledo Jazz Orchestra. It's happening Saturday. That's December 17th at 8 o'clock p.m. Scott Lavender is conducting. Kim Bueller is coming on and singing. It's called A Swingin Christmas, happening at the Paris Style. You can find more information at the Toledo Symphony website at toledosymphony.com or call up the box office number. That is 419-246-8000. So let's talk about some of the stuff that's happening on this concert, because you're both performing. Scott Potter, you're playing the trumpet. And Scott Lavender, you're at the podium. Oh, boy, I'm going to get really mixed up with these Scots here, I just have to say. So don't hold it against me if I reverse somehow. Scott Lavender, tell us your story. I'm going to do two different stories, one for you, Scott 1, and one for you, Scott 2. And I'll play some background music for you, and you tell us a little bit, kind of a getting to know you session. I'll give you a choice, though, Scott Lavender. You want jazzy Christmas, or do you want jazzy jingle bells in the background?
Boy, that's tough. They both sound so good.
We never told you Symphony Lab would be easy.
No.
Yeah.
Let's try the jazzy Christmas, because I've had my fill of jazzy jingle bells.
Okay,
Whoa.
So there's your background music.
That's
now you have to
peppy.
tell us your story, a peppy story.
A peppy story. Okay, so I grew up in Findlay, Ohio, and went to Bowling Green, where I majored in music. Went down to North Texas for graduate studies, ended up going on the road, and over the course of the next 40-some-odd years, lived in Dallas, Las Vegas, and Los Angeles, where my wife and I raised our two kids, and then came to our senses in 2011 and came back to Northwestern Ohio.
Nice. I like that. How did you get interested in conducting? Were you an instrumentalist of any sort before that?
I was. I have a piano performance degree, which I got from Bowling Green, and played trombone and cello in high school.
Oh, wow. Multi-instrumentalist.
So to speak.
Yeah.
Some people would probably disagree with that.
How'd you get the conducting bug?
I enjoyed it in college, where I had a year of it and enjoyed it. And then because of the people that I ended up going on the road with, I had the opportunity to be the leader of varying sizes of groups. Started out with a 7 or 8 piece lounge group, graduated to a 12 to 15 piece big band, and then by the time I got a job working with a woman who was opening for Frank Sinatra, it was a 40-piece orchestra.
Wow.
So that I had to actually step up on a podium and do some actual conducting, although it's nothing like what Alain does. I mean, I'm mostly engaged in starting and stopping the group, occasionally trying to weed out mistakes and stuff.
You could have just two signs, that you hold up in each hand. One says start, and the other says stop, right?
much.
And then you figure out how to raise the applause sign for the audience.
If they so choose.
Yes. Don't give them a choice. Of course they're going to applaud.
Of course they are.
Speaking of applause, let me give you a little applause for that
Thank you.
story. Now, that leaves you, Scott Potter, with the other music. So whether you like jazzy jingle bells or not, I'm going to give it to you. It goes like this. Okay, Scott, let's hear from you. Scott Potter, Scott 2, or Scott 1.
My story is nothing compared to what Scott number 1 was. I'm from Toledo. I'm still here. Have a degree in music from Bowling Green. I've been playing trumpet a long time. And I think my skills certainly lie more in the organization and business end of things. My wife and I own a very successful transportation business in Toledo. We've had it for 25 years. And it's afforded me a chance to leave the office at 2 o'clock every day and practice and keep my chops up. I sort of am running the organization right now, and one of the reasons that I approached Zach a few years ago and said, I need help. So we've merged with Tappa. At least this is our first year of dating, and it's so far it's really been great. But I don't have any exceptional musical talent other than I would say I would forge ahead even knowing I have no musical talent.
But tell me a little bit about how you got started on the trumpet. Why is that your instrument of choice?
Because my father wanted me to play trombone. That's the
Here,
truth. Sadly, it is true. He was a trombonist, and me being the only son of 5 kids and being recalcitrant, I picked the trumpet.
Yeah.
But I've enjoyed it. It's been a long time. I still practice a lot, and I will say that I get better each year at something. You know what I mean? It's what drives me to keep going, and I've learned so much from the discipline of practicing. It really is a gift that most people, other than say musicians, serious musicians, and say gymnasts, and people who've put that much time and effort and are willing to accept frustration and defeat and still keep going, it makes business child's play in a lot of ways.
You know, I just realized sitting here, we're all sort of jazz fans of different levels. I used to play jazz sax in high school. And Alain, you have a long pedigree of being involved in jazz. And Zach, I know that you like jazz.
It's true.
Yes, all that old school stuff is right up your alley. I wonder which one of you Scots want to talk a little bit about history of the Toledo Jazz Orchestra. Everybody's pointing to Mr. Potter. So let's hear again from you, and you can tell us a little bit of the Toledo Jazz Orchestra story.
Well, it's 41, 42 years old, depending on how you want to count your years. Randy Ritchie, a pianist and attorney who just recently returned to Toledo, got together with some guys and wrote some bylaws, and it was called the Toledo Jazz Society back then. And the purpose of it was to support a big band. And I don't know the years, but somewhere along the line, I got involved as executive director. It was a part-time thing. And then ended up playing a few years later. At one point, the Jazz Society's vision of the organization and the Jazz Orchestra's vision of the organization sort of diverted. And we disbanded the group. And a year or so later, I approached Mark Lemley, who I've known my entire life, and said, hey, why don't we put the band back together? And nice. So we did. We got a board and wrote, became our own freestanding 501c3. We wanted to get a director that had not only good music acumen, but business acumen as well. And we got Ron Kischuk from Detroit, a very fine trombone player. Mm-hmm. And he did a great job. I think he was with us 10 or 11 years. And had some great guest artists. Peter Erskine played a couple times with us. We had Jeff Hamilton, and, a lot of good music, a lot of challenging music. And then, of course, COVID hit and things came to a screeching halt. And we reorganized. And again, Zach and I, must have been, 3 or 4 years ago that we first talked?
Yeah, it was definitely pre-COVID. So let's say 2019.
Yeah, maybe even a year before that we first talked. I think I called you, right? Because
you did.
Yeah.
I remember going down to Keith's office and asking, "Who's this Scott Potter guy?"
Yeah.
And Keith said, "Don't bother.
Yeah, don't return his calls."
Oh well.
So anyway, we reorganized, and I've often held a long standing thought that there are a lot of people in Toledo that have never heard the orchestra who like music, who like attending live performances. And just this past, I guess it was a week ago Monday now, a gal came up to me I was at the Downtown Coaches Association meeting at luncheon at UT, where my company does a lot of work with their athletic department. And a woman came up to me who used to work for the symphony and said, "Did you just play at Lourdes College last week?" He says, "I came to the concert." And I said, "I think I know that guy." And she didn't say whether she liked the concert, but she did say she's coming to the next one. Yeah. So I'm assuming she...
It was unlike anything I've ever heard.
Yeah. Right. So I think it's true, and our ticket sales are good for this next concert, higher than I think we've ever had. And I think that the final attendance is going to be our record, except for the time we played a free concert with the Army Blues Band at the Peristyle. It's free sells very well in Toledo, I found.
Yeah, indeed. Well, I do want to mention that you can also go online to toledojazz.org and find tickets there, as well as the ToledoSymphony.com website. The concert is happening Saturday. It's December 17th, 8 o'clock p.m. at the Peristyle. Toledo Jazz Orchestra, Scott Lavender conducting. Scott Potter will be playing along, and Kim Bueller is going to provide vocalism for the evening. Now, the title of this concert is A Swingin Christmas. So which one of you wants to talk about swinging, and which one of you wants to talk about Christmas?
Scott Lavender's the swinger.
Okay. All right, Scott. I'm going to ask you to get in on your mic there.
I am in on my mic.
Okay, and tell us a little bit about what we can expect. Say if somebody's going for the first time, right?
Going for the first time. Well, you can expect a big band music. You can expect a lot of great technical
prowess.
What's the word? Prowess? I guess so. Prowess.
Prowess, yes.
Yeah, you're gonna hear some really amazing playing, some really amazing arrangements by arrangers and composers like Gordon Goodwin, Mike Tomorrow. Yeah. I arranged a couple of the things, so you're going to have to indulge me for those.
And his trumpet parts are too high.
Oh.
All right, take it outside, guys.
Oh, this is Buddy Rich.
Yeah.
Take it outside.
Yeah,
that's right.
Alain is like a walking encyclopedia of jazz. So I just when he says something, I just take it at face value.
I would.
Absolutely.
I would.
Scott Lavender, what is your history with Toledo Jazz Orchestra? When did you start conducting them and working with them?
I think I played a couple of concerts with you guys over the last 10 years, but it's very limited. This is just a matter of having moved back in 2011 and getting refamiliarized with some of the guys, Mark Limley he mentioned, and Scott Potter being in the position that he's in have afforded me the opportunity to come in and play the piano for a couple of concerts. And then they kindly started asking me to do some stuff, conducting and directing the group in 21 or in 20, I can't remember.
Yeah, that's in the amorphous pandemic period.
Yeah. Somewhere in the last 15 years. In the last 15/2 years, yeah.
That narrows it down. Well, there's a lot of stuff to talk about. But I do have a quiz, and the quiz is called The Great Scott Quiz. Great Scots in History. So this is all about the phrase Great Scott, right? Did you recognize that Great Scott that we just heard? That was Doc Brown in Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Yeah. He says Great Scott quite a bit, and that'll play into our quiz a little bit. But let me pull up some Great Scott quiz music. It's actually a different Great Scott.
Joplin.
Scott Joplin. Exactly. Okay.
I don't think Scott was his actual first name, however. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, well, we'll just find some other music then. That's all right. That's what we do here at Symphony Lab. We say everything is, absolutely true. Anyway.
Does this mean I should doubt your accuracy on the quiz answers? Yeah.
No, the quiz answers, I always verify, like I find something and I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
And then I verify with at least two other independent sources.
I see.
So there is fact checking that goes on. It's just sometimes the facts are too good to be true, right?
Are you one of those sources?
Yes, I verify. I got a stamp back in the office and I just stamp off on it. First question of the quiz is, who was the inspiration behind the phrase Great Scott? This is multiple choice. Is it Sir Walter Scott? Is it F. Scott Fitzgerald? Or was it Winfield Scott, who was a famous general back during the Civil War? And we don't answer these until the very end. We'll go back and see how we did. So if you need writing utensils, you should have it there. You should have a little pad of paper that you can write on. All right, second question. We've gotten to the second question already. Which of the following objects is informally known as Great Scott? Is it a moon rock? Is it a savory dessert? Or is it a sequoia tree? A, B, or C? There's a famous one of those categories that is known as Great Scott. Okay, what writer used the exclamation Great Scott over and over again in a famous time travel novel? Was it H.G. Wells? Was it Mark Twain? Or was it Jules Verne? Next question. What fictional character used the catchphrase Great Scott? Was it Perry White? Was it Scotty in Star Trek? Or was it Brad Majors in the Rocky Horror Picture Show? A, B, or C? Next one. How many times in total did Dr. Emmett Brown say Great Scott in the trilogy of Back to the Future films? That's all of the films. So was it 10? Was it 15? Or was it 20 times? And that's kind of just make your best guess. A, B, or C.
These are all just make your best guess.
Last question here. The exclamation Great Scott is an example of what? Is it an euphemistic oath? Is it a minced oath? Or is it a decisory oath? A, B, or C? Okay. I do have a bonus question, but we have to wait until after we answer these first. So let's go back and give the answers for these. Who was the inspiration behind the phrase Great Scott? How many people said Sir Walter Scott? Raise your hand. Okay, that's Elaine and Zach. How many people said F. Scott Fitzgerald? Any takers? How many people said Winfield Scott? The two Scotts say Winfield Scott. It's kind of a toss-up because nobody really knows for sure. It was Sir Walter Scott was mentioned as the Great Scott in a poem in the early 19th century. Winfield Scott was also referred to as Great Scott by his troops. We didn't read about it until later, but they were talking about what people did back in the day, right? So it's a toss-up between Walter Scott and Winfield Scott. So everybody wins, right?
All right. Where's my trophy?
Everybody wins. Well, we still have some questions to go before we get there. All
Very
right.
millennial.
But I'm participating.
You are indeed. You are indeed. Which of the following objects is informally known as Great Scott? How many people said it was a moon rock? Nobody said that. How many people said it was a savory dessert? Nobody. How many went for the sequoia tree? The answer is a moon rock. It's actually a moon rock that's called Great Scott. It was gathered in 1971 during Apollo 15. It's also known as Lunar Sample 15555.
That's the way I've done it. Oh,
Yeah, I mean, you have to use a scientific name.
Yeah, now it all makes sense. Okay. What writer used the exclamation Great Scott over and over again in a famous time travel novel? How many people said H.G. Wells? Okay, well, one of the Scotts and one of the Zacks said H.G. Wells. I guess there's only one Zach. Sorry.
It's okay. I'll take it.
And how many people said Mark Twain? Nobody said Mark Twain. How many people said Jules Verne? Well, the other Scott is raising their hand.
Didn't say anything?
Alain recused himself from that question. The answer is Mark Twain, actually. So everybody lost on that one. Yeah. And
Except Alain. He did not. He did not technically lose.
I took the fifth.
Yeah.
You said you have a fifth? Can I have it?
Yeah. Okay. That was from the novel A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court. The lead character always says Great Scott. By the way, here's a little bonus question. What was the real name of the Yankee in Mark Twain's novel? He doesn't say it at first. He just calls him the Yankee. And then later it eventually comes up.
Mickey Mantle.
That's pretty close.
Oh.
Was it Hank Morgan? Was it Mike Morgan? Or was it Scott Morgan? A, B, or C?
Hank.
And yeah, the answer is Hank. Okay, we'll give you that one. And we didn't save that one for the end, so that's okay.
He's a genius.
Lavender
right.
takes the lead.
He's just sitting at Merwin's place.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Oh, right.
Something about that
You're
chair.
sitting in front of Merwin's microphone. It's rubbing off on
Yeah?
you because Merwin always wins the quiz, right? That's the meme anyway, that he wins the quiz. Okay, what fictional character used the catchphrase "Great Scott"? Was it Perry White? How many people said Perry White? Scott Lavender and Alain Trudel. Both the conductors are in Perry White's corner. How many people said Scotty in Star Trek? Anybody go for Scotty? Zach went for Scotty. Anybody say Brad Majors in the Rocky Horror Picture Show? That goes to Scott Potter. Scott Potter is correct. Yeah, Perry White said Great Caesar's Ghost. That was his catchphrase.
Of course he did.
And Scotty never said anything like that. In fact, the whole...
Wasn't he a doctor, not a scientist, or scientist, not a doctor?
That's Bones. Yeah.
I haven't.
That's Leonard McCoy. I can tell you're not a Star Trek fan, right?
I really like the one with Han Solo.
The episode with Han Solo.
The episode with Han Solo.
And they never said "Beam me up, Scotty." That never appeared in the original series. That phrase.
He also said he also never said, "Luke, I am your father."
Yeah, exactly. So see, those two series are closely related, right?
Not really.
Anyway,
they take place in space.
have you ever been to the Rocky Horror Picture Show, like when they showed
They
it
throw
in
stuff in.
theaters?
Oh, yeah.
So do you know what they threw every time that Brad Major says "Great Scott"? It was
Tissue?
something to do with Scott. Yeah, toilet paper.
Toilet paper was for that.
Scott toilet paper. That's what they threw. How many times in total did Dr. Emmett Brown say "Great Scott" in the trilogy of Back to the Future films? How many people said 10? How many people said 15? Okay, the conductors again. You guys are making up a team here. How many said 20? Zach and Scott Potter. Well, the answer is 15. The answer, did anybody say 15? Oh, yeah, the conductors said 15.
Good guys.
Excellent.
good guys,
The
right?
good guys. You guys are sitting in the wrong spot. I need to put you two together.
Hello.
Okay. The exclamation, "Great Scott," it is an example of what kind of oath? Is it a euphemistic oath? How many people said euphemistic oath? Elaine went for that. You fell for my made-up oath.
Yep.
Was it the minced oath? Anybody go for the minced oath?
I did.
Anybody? You did? Okay,
You
Scott
can admit
Lavender.
it. That's okay.
And decisory oath. And did the rest of you go for, okay.
That really sounds.
The non-conductors went for the decisory oath. I didn't make that up, but it is a legal term, actually, and it does not apply to this. Euphemistic oath, we already established that I made that one up. So that leaves a minced oath. Who voted for minced oath?
Mr. Lavender
Yeah,
in the lead.
very well done. You know what a minced oath is?
No.
It's like a minced oath is when you say something in place of a swear word or a dirty word. When you say like "dang" or "darn it," those are examples. Jumping Jehoshaphat, right? What's the longest minced swear word or oath that you've heard?
I can't say it on the air.
You
Jumping
can say it if it's a
Jehoshaphat
minced
If it's a minced
oath.
oath, yeah,
Oh,
That might be.
yeah. The longest.
Well, or the most frequent, I guess, minced oath in your life that you use.
Well, did I
Jumpin'-
use? I have to
Jumpin'
use it?
Jehoshaphat.
Jumping
Yeah.
Jehoshaphat.
Dadgummit.
That's a good one. Dadgummit. Yeah.
Dagnabbit. I'll say.
Dagnabbit.
Yeah.
Dagnabbit. What about you, Elaine? Are there, in French, are there minced oaths?
Oh, I don't know.
They do go straight for the jugular and say the dirty word
we're
outright.
a
Yeah.
little bit more
How
direct.
How about shut the front door?
Shut the front door. My sister says that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what my daughter was saying, sweet cheese and crackers.
Can I tell you what my daughter says? It's
Yeah.
along the same lines. My 4-year-old will come around, and if something surprises or disappoints her, she'll say, "Aw, biscuits."
Oh, wow. I had a teacher who
It's
used
adorable.
to say sugar all the time. And and we kept waiting, for the rest of
One
that
time.
word, but
One
it was
time.
always a minced oath.
Are you sure she wasn't just calling you sugar?
It may be. So who won the quiz? I wasn't keeping track. Was
Merwin.
it
Yeah.
Merwin, the conductor? Scott, you're sitting in the winner's chair, so you win.
All right. Yay.
And tell him, Brad, what did he win?
Yeah, what did I win?
You want an invitation back one of these days. Yes, you're allowed back in the building.
So in a lot of ways,
See,
you guys lost.
Even winners
Yeah.
lose, yeah.
even more than I won. Okay.
Well, the concert is happening at the Peristyle. It's Saturday evening at 8 o'clock p.m. Toledo Jazz Orchestra presents A Swingin Christmas. Scott Lavender is conducting. Scott Potter is playing in the orchestra. And we also have Kim Buehler providing vocals. Who wants to talk about Kim Buehler? Because that's quite a coup that she's singing with you guys. I mean, she's a great singer, yeah?
Yeah, I'll say a little something. Actually, in my first concert, official concert with the Toledo Jazz Orchestra, which was in the fall, and we had Kim as a guest, and she has a long relationship with you guys, and we had some fabulous singers. Ramona was there also, so Kim and Ramona were there.
Yeah.
Totally stole the show. They were fantastic. We're doing the Great American Songbook, which we'll be doing many versions of it in the future as well. And I think that when we have people in town that are of that level. And also, I mean, they're very easy to work with. Both of them were. So it's we invite them again to whatever activities we can invite them. So this time we're inviting Kim again, and I was surprised. Then I always knew that they were good because, of course, Scott told me that they were good. So I knew that I was in business.
We
then.
have two Scotts here, so you have to say Scott Potter
Oh,
or Mr. Potter.
Well, the Scots in general.
He prefers Mr. Potter.
All the Scots, yes.
All very British. But we now that this performance was amazing. So I do understand why, and they have her again and again.
Yeah.
And also there's some kind of an affinity, and sometimes it's like in classical music, you have singers that are great, that are easy to work with, and she's one of those.
Those are two different things, right?
Well,
They're
it
great
doesn't
and
happen
easy
all
to
the
work
time.
with. Yeah.
No, it doesn't happen all the time. When you find some, then you keep hiring them because they're amazing.
Yeah.
He's right about that. Kim and I have been working together for 25, 30 years, and we've done a bunch of gigs where you show up and the circumstances are not what you thought they'd be, and she's just a trooper. Never complains, just makes the best of the situation no matter what. Always prepared. She's just great to work with.
Scott Lavender, you've worked with Kim before, or
I
have you
have.
not?
Yeah, she's a pleasure.
Yeah.
Like Scott said, just a fantastic singer. Always prepared, and what a great attitude. And
Yeah.
singer and attitude don't always go
Don't
the right
always
way
mix.
together. Yeah, but with Kim, absolutely fantastic. Can't wait.
So it's A Swingin Christmas.
It is.
Is the concert. We're going to hear a lot of Christmas music, I assume.
No, not really.
Oh, well.
We decided to surprise everyone.
It's all
Not
Valentine's.
one Christmas song.
One Christmas song.
Not
It
one.
better not be by Paul McCartney or
No.
Mariah Carey.
Not doing that one.
One or the other.
But isn't
yeah.
that the great thing about this time of year is that we pull out these records or CDs or stream things,
You're
whatever
dating
doing.
yourself.
Yeah, I know. But there's stuff that we listen to this time of year that we've listened to for 50 or 60 years, and we turn to folks like Mel Torme and Ella Fitzgerald and Frank Sinatra to sing us Christmas tunes. I mean, Bing Crosby still has a #1 hit on his hands thanks to Christmas time.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
I love that timelessness of this. It's nostalgia, and then we have the remakes. People who cover songs. Now they're covering songs that were new a long time ago. So it's amazing.
When are you guys going to do a Christmas album? I mean, Alain, you can play your trombone and you can play your trumpet, Mr. Potter, and Mr. Lavender, you can direct. I mean, you get Kim to sing some stuff. We got to get this happening here.
We'll take it under advisement, as they say. But I did want to say, Scott's got a friend in Pittsburgh who used to be on Maynard's band, and he was a bari sax player, I think.
Like tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's done it. It's called Merry Christmas, John Coltrane. The tune is based on Deck the Halls, but the chord changes are based on giant steps.
Oh, wow.
And it's got a really interesting solo with the trumpet and tenor. I was happy to call Scott and said, I think this should be on the solo parts, 2 different tenor sax
should have
parts.
tenor solos.
Because I'm not trying to play on giant steps. So, but it's a really cool tune.
You
And
can do the
Nice.
Circle of Fifths Christmas, something like that.
We could.
yeah. So, but we've got about 6 or 7 new maybe more than that, actually, 8 or 9 new charts we purchased for this concert. And it's going to be a lot of fun.
I was a huge Maynard Ferguson fan when I was in high school. That was around the time of his real, his flourishment. Who are your trumpet heroes, Scott?
Oh, boy. Too many to mention here, but Chet Baker was always one of my favorites, and Clifford Brown, Miles. Of course, I always loved going to see Maynard, but I could never play in the stratosphere like he could. But he was a fantastic player, and there were just so many. Lee Morgan was one of my absolute favorites. I still listen to him when I'm out working in my wood shop.
Is there like a tradition of, in the way there is in classical music? I mean, obviously in jazz for performers. But I'm wondering, like, conductor performers or composer performers, can you talk a little bit about that legacy?
Well, I think, and maybe I'll see. Maybe Scott, you agree with me. Is that in the band, usually the person who leads the band is comes from the band. Like you come from the band world. Like you are a musician that. Usually you have your horn not very far from you, and you play a little bit here and there. You play on the piano, like, Count Basie played, sometimes played 3 notes, but I mean, the most important ones. But, same thing with Maynard, he played. It's the same thing with Winton, same thing. Duke is the same thing. There's a lot of writing involved. There's a lot of, the leadership comes more from doing than talking than saying. And it's really about, it's not led like a symphony orchestra. Of course, as a symphony orchestra, a conductor, I mean, we all play an instrument, but it's rare that it's somebody that's really like that close to the band itself. Like you could play an instrument, but not having played around. Like when I started working with the Toledo Jazz Orchestra, before that, I actually went to play with them. I played a concert where I was a feature in the band, and it really comes from the inside. That's good luck here in the Toledo Symphony. That also comes from the inside, because I play an orchestral instrument. Trombone is in both orchestras, but it has a lot to do with joining the band and inspiring the players by the way you play as well, which is not something that you do that much with symphony orchestra.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I wonder about the differences between the two worlds, but you seem to bridge the gap with your philosophy.
Maybe I don't know. I mean, I see them totally as 2 different things. I agree with you on that. One of the words I cannot. I really don't like is
this a minced oath? Or?
Is the word crossover.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like you're a little bit bad at both. that's what I think. But if you're a jazz player, you're a jazz player. And the jazz world is like you have to pay your dues on both sides. If it's okay. You can be inspired to do a lot of classical music and jazz music, like Wynton Marsalis, for example. Yeah. But he paid his dues on both sides. I mean, he practiced, and he also has the knowledge on the classical side, and it's also to have a feel for it. Because if it shows, especially on the jazz side, if you don't swing, but you have the knowledge, but you don't swing, it's not going to go anywhere,
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Zach, do you want to talk a little bit about the experience of seeing all this unfold? I mean, obviously you were a catalyst for this event, but how has it been for you seeing TJO come into the Tappa family?
That's a good question. I love jazz, and when my parents would encourage me to listen to their records, I would always take Tchaikovsky upstairs, but I also take Oscar Peterson upstairs, and there was something about holding those LPs under your little arms, and going up the stairs with. But just seeing this come together, this makes so much sense to me, and I'm happy to see that it's making so much sense to our community as well. Yeah. And just hearing the amount of enthusiasm at Alain, your first concert back in November, and the number of people who were in the audience who had not heard the jazz orchestra before, going back to Scott's comment, Scott number 2. This is how we really
The Scots are over there trying to figure out who is 1 and who is 2.
I'm just going by your assignment here, Brad. Yeah. But this if our vision is to bring people together in this community through the arts, then this is how we do it. And we can do it through classical music, we can do it through dance, we can do it through jazz, and the genres matter. But we know that everything's not going to appeal to everybody, right. But some things will appeal to many people. And we're bringing people together, and that makes me really, really pleased. And the more we can do to shine the light on one of Toledo's great gems, the Jazz Orchestra, the better. So, I send a ton of gratitude to Scott Potter for sharing the legacy and allowing us to work with them and to move things along as much as you have. You've placed an enormous amount of trust in us.
Thanks for that. And I'm real pleased with how things are going, and I think it's going to be great for the community.
Yeah. Hopefully, we'll get a few people who go to the jazz concerts that would go to the symphony concerts, maybe for the first time. Have an experience with that. You'd love to see people, like you said, going both ways. I mean, that would be fantastic. I can't tell you how many jazz musicians I know who. They wouldn't ever think of going to a symphony concert. Well, why not? There's like only a couple of different kinds of music. There's good music and there's bad music.
Right? Thank you,
Duke Ellington. Right?
Yeah. I mean, geez, why wouldn't you go hear the best that human beings have to offer orally?
And exploring music is such a wonderful concept. I mean, I'm not talking about the radio program that airs on WGTE, but. Folks are going to walk into the Peristyle for the first time and want to come back. And whether they hear Ravel or they hear Ellington, I don't really care as long as they're coming back and experiencing the arts.
Yeah.
Right?
Engaging with the offerings that you have.
We were talking about the the conductor or the director. Really, it's more of an artistic director, I think, in the jazz idiom than the conductor. But I found it real interesting to work with Alain for the first time because he, especially as an instrumentalist, was able to sing what he wanted to do and making it more like a breath, fatter attack, and really was very clear as to how he wanted it. And everybody that I spoke with in the band, including a few that I didn't expect to hear positive feedback from, just loved it. And the pace of rehearsal was just like this. Yeah. No room for guys to, yak.
This is where we insert your minced oath here.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And then Scott Lavender too is just they both have incredible ears, and I don't mean to look at. I'm talking about to listen to.
Can't see them now because you got headphones on.
It was either in 1974 or 1975 when we were in college. I think the record was called The Raven. It's Woody Herman big band, and Scott, when they had days of records when they couldn't slow things down and pause. Took La Fiesta and Giant Steps off the record so the lab band could play them. And then Alain, the first rehearsal, I hear him sing back in solfege one of the inner saxophone parts the way he wanted it. I'm thinking, oh my God.
Show off.
In a good way, right?
Oh yeah. I said I shouldn't be in this room.
I do love the way you solfege. It's amazing. And it's like you're speaking another language. So I say you speak French, English, German, Spanish, whatever, and solfege.
Whatever can make it clear, you don't waste any time. If you can just articulate it right away and people understand right away, and then you move on to the next thing.
Now translate that into solfege for us. Definitely. So before we go, just tell us a little bit of what is on the concert, like some of the repertoire. We're going to hear some of the Christmas favorites, or
yes,
yes,
in unique settings. There's a Jingle Bells arrangement that was arranged by John Clayton for Diana Krall. Kim will be singing that. She's also singing "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas."
Yeah.
What's that John Williams chart that you put in?
The Gordon Goodwin wrote a chart on Somewhere in My Memory, which is a beautiful
from
little
Home
tune.
Alone,
Home Alone.
Oh, is that what
this is he doesn't do it like a ballad. It's an upbeat kind of really interesting treatment.
Yeah.
We have your chart. We Need a Little Christmas.
We Need a Little Christmas, which Scott's been complaining about for over a year. Yeah.
Great, Scott.
Just because there happen to be some high trumpet parts. Big deal.
Yeah. Sounds like you need a little Christmas.
Yeah.
Right. When my mother was mad at me, she would make my dinner and toss it in front of me and say, "There, I hope you choke on it."
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, nice.
You do the same thing.
I would never say that out loud to the band.
Yeah. To me, it's a different story.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, that's great. We look forward to that. And this is not the kind of when people hear jazz, they think of a lot of different things because there are lots of different kinds of jazz in the world. What kind of jazz is the specialty of the TJO, would you say?
Good jazz. I don't know. Scott,
I'd say it's very, very accessible.
Yeah.
We've got good soloists in the band, but it's not extended solos, a lot of ensemble playing. The
very
charts
few
are good.
Ornette Coleman tunes.
Yeah.
You get a little
We don't get too
jazzed up
outside.
once in a while.
From the point of view of I'm not an outsider anymore, but almost, because I've only, we've only performed together twice. For me, there's a lot of soul in the orchestra, and the way they play, and there's a kind of a willingness to swing hard. I like that.
Yeah.
It's a hard swing. That's
That's
we
like
kind
a
of.
title for a new concert you have to put together. Hard swing.
But it's there's something. I mean,
Sounds like a playground implement.
Would you like the hard swing or the soft swing? Sorry, Alain. Please carry on.
So not being from America, coming here and playing the American music with that American jazz band is quite an experience, very different than when you play in Europe or when you play in Canada. Even we have a fantastic jazz player in Canada, but there's something about this music being the tradition of this country that people play very naturally. And there's a lot of things you don't need to talk about. It's like when you play Viennese waltz in Vienna. You don't need to actually sit down and, be intricate about it and take it apart and say, we're going to do the second beat a little bit earlier, that kind of thing. Here, it's the same thing. I mean, there's the way to swing is kind of intersect in the people.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Well, folks can listen to everything we've been talking about at this concert. It's Saturday, December 17th, 8 o'clock p.m. at the Toledo Museum of Art, Peristyle. Scott Lavender is conducting. Scott Potter is playing trumpet in the orchestra. We'll also hear from vocalist Kim Buehler and the Toledo Jazz Orchestra. You can find tickets at toledosymphony.com or toledojazz.org. And you can call it the box office, right? That's at 419-246-8000. So it's a wonderful opportunity for folks who love the orchestra to come see it, and folks who perhaps haven't, partaken in what you guys have to offer yet. We hope that they will come as well. I want to thank the both of you Scots. You've been great to come
Great
and join
Scots.
us. Yeah, great Scots.
Thank you.
Join us for the podcast and today. We really appreciate that.
Brad, can I ask which Scott was greater, Scott or Scott?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, Scott.
Got it.
Yeah, totally. I get that. There we go.
That was the only time that was.
I'd have to vote for Scott Potter.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Scott, whom do you vote for?
Isn't that nice? You know who gets my vote?
Yeah.
Yes. Emmett Brown.
Emmett Brown. Okay.
This program is a production of WGTE Public Media in collaboration with our sponsor, the Toledo Symphony. You can download episodes as a podcast by going to our website at wgte.org/lab. You can also subscribe to us through your podcast app of choice, including Apple, Google, and Spotify podcasts. Don't forget to check out all the upcoming events at the Symphony by visiting their website at toledosymphony.com and their various social media outlets on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also find the TSO streaming platform online at stream.artstoledo.com. My thanks to Alain Trudel, Zach Vassar, and to our special guests, Scott Potter and Scott Lavender. I'm Brad Cresswell. You've been listening to Toledo Symphony Lab from FM 91.